With The Matrix 5 in early production, with Drew Goddard as director/writer and Lana Wachowski as producer, fans have been speculating about what story might unfold in the next installment and beyond. So today we will analyze 5 theories about Agent Smith leading into The Matrix 5, his transformation from villain to antihero, and his current status. How did he go from a Matrix enforcer to perhaps the savior of mankind? Welcome to Matrix Explained.
Welcome to the desert of the real.
Number 5. Smith's stages of evolution. To help you understand Agent Smith's multiple stages of evolution and how he could return in Matrix 5, we must return to the Matrix Resurrections. To begin with, let's answer 2 of the most frequently asked questions we got about Smith's return. How did he come back? And why did he want to destroy the Analyst? One of the first things that the new Smith tells to Neo when they are reunited is,
"You never appreciated our relationship. Not like the Analyst."
The what? My doctor.
He used our bond and turned it into a chain. It's so obvious once you see it, right? But this whole altered code update really blew my mind. I still don't know how he did it. He was a balding nerd. Hilarious. And me, even more perfect. Maybe a little too far on the piercing blue eyes, what do you think?
Here Smith revealed some important facts. One is that he says that the Analyst took advantage of the bond between the 2 of them. This bond was created when Neo destroyed Smith in the first movie, copying the Anomaly's code into Smith by accident.
I don't fully understand how it happened. Perhaps some part of you imprinted onto me, something overwritten or copied.
As we've mentioned in several older videos, Smith and Neo are 2 sides of the same coin. Smith also talks about the update they both received. His appearance in particular is completely different, but the more we see of this new Smith, the more we realize that he is far different from the original, almost as if there were 2 characters. Smith's defining characteristic was his hatred of humanity.
Human beings are a disease, a cancer of this planet. You are a plague, and we are the cure.
This hatred of humans evolved into hatred for all living things, natural and artificial.
It was your life that taught me the purpose of all life. The purpose of life is to end.
Now Smith appears to appreciate Neo. This is Smith's first big change. He no longer hates him nor wants to kill him. Smith tells Neo to stay out of the Matrix while he goes after the Analyst, because if the Analyst catches Neo, he would also catch Smith. The 2 of them are connected after all.
Smith?
What does the world come to when you can't even trust a program?
How?
Tom and I have more in common than you know. Once he got out, let's just say I was free to be me.
Notice that Smith calls Neo Tom now, as if they were acquaintances or maybe friends. Also saying that programs can't even be trusted anymore is a big contrast in behavior from this Smith from the old one. As we mentioned earlier, Smith's defining characteristic from the original movies was his hatred. This new Smith wants revenge on the Analyst. His hostility ceased to be universal. It's now focused on one program. In hindsight, we can divide Smith's development into 3 stages. The first stage is when he was a watchdog or an agent of the simulation. In this stage, he had a deep animosity towards humans. He desperately wanted to escape from the Matrix, and he was disgusted by humans. Smith was afraid that he had become infected by them, comparing the human race to a virus. His purpose was to protect the Matrix and acquire the Zion codes to destroy the human resistance. Smith believed that he would be free from the Matrix if he got those codes. The agent stage ended when Neo destroyed him the first time. The architect then upgraded the agents. Smith was supposed to return to the source to be deleted, but he didn't. He didn't follow his orders and thus became an exiled program. This is Smith's second stage. He no longer wanted to escape the Matrix or be superior to humans. All he wants now is to destroy all life. Smith discovers that he has new powers and begins to infect the people and programs inside the Matrix. He has become a virus. This destructive nihilistic stage ended when Smith assimilated Neo and the agent was destroyed for the second time. Smith's third stage is his rebirth in The Matrix Resurrections. He has returned to his initial stage before turning into a virus. Smith cannot copy himself anymore. He is less powerful, but he can use the Anomaly's code to defeat the Analyst. He uses the Merovingian and the Exiles to help him stop Neo. Smith no longer seeks to destroy all life, nor does he hate Neo, at least not as much as he did before. Now Smith hates one program and seeks revenge against that program, the Analyst. This version of Smith is similar to the original version, in the aspect that this version hated the Analyst and the older version hated humans. But the differences between them are so big that he is borderline another character, almost like comparing the new Morpheus with the original. This radical behavior change just does not fit the original Smith, which made us consider the possibility that he is not Smith, but another sentient program that has taken up the role of Smith, just like the new Morpheus did. This brings us to our next theory, that the Smith in Matrix 4 is not the real Smith. Number 4. Smith is a lie created by the Analyst. There are several reasons why we think that the new version of Smith is not Neo's ally. Part of the reason why Smith works alongside Tom, undercover as his boss at Deus Machina, is to cause mental stress to Mr. Anderson. The Analyst explained that his new version of the Matrix uses the emotional stress of the humans connected to it to power the machines. Therefore, having Smith as Neo's boss is undoubtedly something that causes enough stress for him to in turn increase energy productivity. Smith's unofficial job description is Neo's tormentor. Later in Matrix Resurrections, when Neo and Smith officially reunite at the abandoned building, Smith talks about how the Analyst had transformed his appearance in the simulation.
He used our bond and turned it into a chain. It's so obvious once you see it, right? But this whole altered code update really blew my mind. I still don't know how he did it. He was a baldy nerd. Hilarious. And me, even more perfect. Maybe a little too far on the piercing blue eyes, what do you think?
And herein lies perhaps the biggest clue that this character is not the original Smith with a fresh coat of paint. Neo's new residual self-image, or skin, that was forced upon him by the Analyst was so that no one in the real world could recognize him. There are several occasions where you see Neo's reflection, and what you see is a man losing his hair or completely bald. But after Neo escapes from the Matrix, he regains his true appearance when he re-enters the simulation. In Smith's case, even though he said that the moment Neo escaped the Matrix, he was able to become himself again, his appearance did not revert to the one he had in the original films. Neo became Neo again, but we never see Smith in his original form. Now we know the real-world reasons why this happened. The original actor who played the role of Smith wasn't able to return due to scheduling conflicts. But let's forget that, and analyze and rationalize why Smith didn't regain his original appearance in the movie. Failure or refusal to regain his original appearance is another piece of evidence that Smith works for the Analyst. When Smith was Agent Smith, he was able to enter the body of any human connected to the Matrix. When Neo destroyed Smith for the first time, Smith loses this ability, but when he returns in Matrix Reloaded, Smith develops a variant of that ability. In the sequels, Smith required direct physical contact to seize and assimilate any human and program, inside or outside the simulation, and create copies of himself. Smith lost his original ability to possess humans because he was no longer part of the Matrix system. And here lies the secret behind the Analyst's lie. At the end of Matrix Resurrections, when Smith defeats the Analyst, we can see that he makes use of this ability. He leaves the host's body as if he were an agent of the Matrix.
What just happened?
This shows that Smith is no longer a virus, and that he has regained the ability to possess the bodies of those connected to the simulation, like an agent.
They are guarding all the doors, they are holding all the keys, which means that sooner or later, someone is going to have to fight them.
Remember, Smith stopped being an agent after the first movie. The fact that he enters and exits the bodies of others can have only one explanation. Smith has returned to the class of agents. He lost his abilities from when he was a virus, but he has regained his original powers. But by him still carrying part of the Anomaly's code, Smith remains one of the most powerful entities in the Matrix. perhaps even more powerful than what he was before. Smith can be anyone, but today's theory is about Smith being an agent created by the Analyst based on the previous Smith. For that reason, his appearance is different, and his attitude and mannerisms do not match that of the original nihilistic Agent Smith. Also, the fact that he can move from body to body proves that he is again part of the Matrix, unlike the previous Smith, who became an uncontrollable virus. If Smith is working for the Analyst, then what transpired during the climax of Matrix Resurrections was a tactic created by the Analyst to make our heroes think that they have gained a new unexpected ally. But if Smith is indeed part of the Analyst's faction, then that means we did not see the original Smith in a new body. Perhaps the original Agent Smith was completely purged from the system at the end of Matrix Revolutions. Or, as we've theorized in other videos, Smith could be hiding somewhere, waiting for the right moment to return. Maybe this is the reason why Smith did not completely destroy the Analyst, since it was all part of the plan. Now then, if the Smith in Matrix 4 isn't the real Smith, what happened to the real one? Is he even still alive? Well, number 3. Agent Smith's Plan B. Bane was one of the most important red pills in the Matrix Revolutions. He served as a vessel for Agent Smith, who escaped to the real world and caused much chaos. Smith's actions in the real world were not fully depicted in the film, but some clues point to the mayhem he wrought during his stay in Zion. Bane and another red pill were exiting the Matrix when Smith appeared and ambushed Bane. Smith infected Bane with his virus, replacing his consciousness and turning him into another Smith. Bane's assimilation was complete. Nothing was left of who he once was. You could say that Smith practically killed Bane. From then on, Smith was Bane, who would now fulfill his goals. The first thing Smith did with his new physical body was cut his hands. This is because, as an agent, he had never experienced pain, but by assimilating the body of a human, he began to experience all human senses. Smith felt pain for the first time. He was curious, but soon his true goal was revealed: to kill Neo in the real world. Inside the Matrix, Smith couldn't kill Neo. The one was simply too powerful within the simulation, but in the real world, he was just another flesh and blood human. Smith does come close to stabbing Neo with a knife, but is interrupted by Kid, who is bringing something to Neo: a spoon. The kitchen utensil represents that the Matrix is not real. But there is a deeper meaning behind this scene. Recall that the person who told Neo about the spoon was a child who lived with the Oracle, and his nickname was the Spoon Boy. This little boy helped Neo understand that the Matrix can be manipulated. But why would the boy send a spoon to Neo in the real world? There are two possible reasons. Either it was a coincidence, or it was planned. If it wasn't for Kid bringing that spoon to Neo, Smith would have injured or even killed Neo. The spoon was probably sent by the child because he knew that Neo would be in danger. Maybe the Spoon Boy foresaw it. Or the child could have been following the orders of the Oracle, who knew that Smith would try to kill Neo in the real world. After all, the Oracle is the one who protects the young potentials, including the Spoon Boy, and it can't be ruled out the possibility that their actions are linked to her. Smith's first attempt on Neo's life had failed, but of course, he wasn't going to give up. The ship, the Catasis, was dispatched to counterattack the Sentinels and Diggers that were burrowing towards Zion. However, Smith sabotaged their plan by activating the EMP bomb prematurely. The explosion affected all hovercrafts of the mission, causing the deaths of dozens of Resistance members and the failure of the mission. Bane was the only survivor, but he was left comatose. He was found by the Hammer crew and was placed in the infirmary, where Neo will soon be. Bane's body was in a coma because his mechanical implants were also affected by the EMP, causing his body to shut down. This is very interesting because it reveals a new detail about the Red Pills. The information that the Red Pills learn, including their consciousness, is probably stored in the mechanical sector of their brain. If they were exposed to an EMP in the real world, they could lose function. Perhaps the Red Pills have a type of internal memory where everything is stored, and this is where the Smith virus was housed inside Bane's body. But when Smith activated the EMP, his body was momentarily turned off. Upon awakening, Smith claimed that he remembered nothing.
I really wish I could help. I just
I don't remember any of it.
He was lying, of course. He knew exactly what happened, and the crew was suspicious of him. The Doctor of the Hammer was examining Smith when he attacked her.
Of course, it might not be very safe for you either.
Smith's goal was to sabotage Zion. He caused the death of dozens of people by activating the EMP, disabling their ships, and then he stowed away on board the hovercraft that Neo commandeers to travel to Machine City. Smith wanted to kill Neo before he could arrive at the source and save everybody. Smith's actions show that he simply wanted to destroy everything and everyone. He calls him Mr. Anderson after he takes Trinity hostage, revealing his identity. Smith wanted Neo to recognize him, and for him to realize that he was not safe from him, even in the real world.
I see you are as predictable in this world as you are in the other. What?
He's out of his mind.
It might appear that way to you, but Mr. Anderson and I know that appearances can be deceiving.
Smith once believed that Thomas Anderson was just another civilian who was no match for the agents. He was a weak human whom they let Morpheus recruit, an insignificant man that Smith enjoyed killing, but doing so resulted in the manifestation of the anomaly. The fact is that Smith underestimated Thomas Anderson, a mistake that resulted in his destruction. Smith will not make the same mistake again. He no longer underestimates Neo. Neo knew that appearances could be deceiving. Let's not forget that the Matrix Neo lived in appeared real, but it was just a simulation. Smith continues to throw hints at his true identity. We can see on Neo's face that he somewhat suspects who it is, but refuses to accept it.
Somehow familiar, isn't it? We've been here before, you and I, remember? I do. I think of nothing else.
Smith is referring to the first Matrix when he shot Neo. Here is where Neo finally accepts who he's dealing with, but still needs confirmation. How do we know this? Well, Neo knew who Bane was. He was a member of the Resistance. They had strategy meetings together. They probably went on missions together. Neo knew who Bane was, and the person who was now in front of him was not Bane.
I admit it is difficult to even think encased in this rotting piece of meat. The stink of it filling every breath, a suffocating cloud you can't escape.
Neo, in disbelief, now knows for a fact that it was Smith. After their one-on-one fight on the ship, Neo was left permanently blinded when Smith shoved an electric cable in his face. Yet somehow, Neo gained new sight. He could see Smith himself in Golden Code, another reference to the original film when Smith killed Neo. After Neo resurrected, he saw the Matrix in code. This scene could have been used to confirm that the real world was also part of the simulation, though it could also mean that Neo was able to see the Smith virus thanks to his mechanical implants. Neo was still connected to the Matrix in the real world, thanks to some unknown wireless connection that linked him to the Matrix. Neo bashes Bane's skull, and that was the end of Smith's odyssey in the real world. Or was it? Just as Smith was able to infect Bane's body, he could have done the same to another Red Pill. Smith did return in the Matrix Resurrections, but with a new, younger look. Yet the theory that a part of the Smith's virus still exists in the outside world still stands. Maybe in the future, there can be multiple Smiths roaming the simulation and the real world once again. If Matrix 5 isn't a sequel, maybe it could be an origin story. Number 2. Smith was right. We saw how much Smith hated the humans based on his behavior. He believed that the human species is selfish and cruel. It destroys its natural habitat by expanding. To Smith, humanity was a problem, and the machines were the solution. He sees artificial intelligence as an entity superior to humans, whom he considered primitive beings, a virus that must be eradicated. However, his philosophy changed. Smith originally only wanted to destroy humanity, but after Neo destroyed him, he changed his mind and wanted to destroy everything. This is where time may have proved the agent right. Smith understood that the purpose of life is to end.
It was your life that taught me the purpose of all life. The purpose of life is to end.
What happens is that back when Smith was an agent, he was an idealist who believed that by escaping his purpose as an agent, or his status as a human babysitter, he could find a better purpose. But when Neo freed him, Smith realizes that humans and machines are the same, and that all life must end. He realizes that there is not much difference between humans and sentient beings. The only way to break the cycle is to destroy the entire system. Like the humans, Smith became a virus that was hell-bent on destroying everything in its path. And again, the most interesting thing about all of this is that time ended up proving him right. In Matrix Resurrections, the machines are at war with each other. Greed and lust for power and limited resources turn them into what they hated the most. The machines' civil war, the destruction of Zion, and Thomas Anderson being trapped inside the simulation again proved that what Smith was saying was true. When we saw Neo trapped again inside the simulation, and again not knowing who was pulling his strings, we were reminded of something Smith said.
Is it freedom or truth? Perhaps peace? Could it be for love? Illusions, Mr. Anderson, vagaries of perception.
The fact that Neo was back at square one, even more trapped in the Matrix than before, shows that his fight was meaningless. He was again a pawn of the system, and with the false belief that he makes his own decisions in life. Time did prove Smith right. Perhaps the purpose of life is just to end, and destroying the Matrix was the only way to escape the system. We think Tom is but just one of the many examples of how Smith was right. Neo and Smith are still slaves to the system.
We're not here because we're free. We're here because we're not free. There's no escaping reason, no denying purpose, because as we both know, without purpose, we would not exist.
This leads us to wonder if indeed the only way for humanity to escape the Matrix is through chaos and destruction, which is what Smith tried to accomplish, but was foiled by Neo. This brings us to number 1. Could Smith be the villain in Matrix 5? Agent Smith has gone through a path of transformation, just as Neo did, and Smith could be the only one that can destroy the Matrix, not Neo. Let's not forget that Smith was the key piece on the board that the Oracle used to bring the Architect and Deus Ex Machina to their knees. The Oracle created the Smith virus to force Neo and the machines to find common ground. All her actions throughout the original trilogy led Neo and the machines to that point. It was a huge risk, but it all worked out as she planned. The bringer of the destruction of the machines was created by a machine, just like humans created theirs when they created the artificial general intelligence. Smith is to the machines what the machines were to the humans, and it's just a matter of time before Smith discovers his full destructive potential. In the Matrix Resurrections, the Analyst created a link between Smith and Neo to control them both. Once Neo escaped the Matrix, that control was severed, and the Analyst lost control of both of them. Neo inadvertently helped Smith escape the control of a superior program twice. First was the Architect, or the Oracle, then the Analyst. This means that the next time we see Smith, he will be a freer agent than he was in the Matrix Reloaded. Once Smith escapes the Analyst's control, he starts to regain his powers. In fact, Smith is shown to be more powerful than the Analyst. This newly freed Smith is the next evolution of the Smith virus. Even though Smith has a temporary alliance with Neo against the Analyst, let's not kid ourselves. We all know what's coming because we have already seen it before. Smith will try to destroy the Machine City because this has always been his purpose. Smith is the destroyer of the Matrix. The outcome of the final battle of the Matrix Revolutions was not the freedom of humanity and the destruction of the machines. Neo's sacrifice only ensured the Matrix's continued control over humans, and that was confirmed in the Matrix Resurrections. The Matrix was extending Neo and Trinity's life to continue to drain energy from them. The perpetuation of the cycles only shows that the system fears change, preferring to hold humanity and its saviors captive. This reinforces the idea that Smith might be right. Nothing has meaning or purpose. Life is absurd. Maybe life in the Matrix and the real world should have ended a long time ago, because Smith understands that these living beings are just part of false continuous cycles. Smith understood this from the beginning, but Neo still doesn't. Not yet, at least. Smith was the guardian of the system that was turned into its destroyer. Was it by design or by chance? But do you agree? Could Smith return as the main villain again? Or should The Matrix 5 take his story in a new and unexpected direction? For Matrix Explained, please leave a like and subscribe. And thank you for visiting the Desert of the Real.